Active combat is ongoing in the area of Sudzha and the surrounding territories of the Kursk region. The enemy is deploying assault units of airborne forces and special operations forces to break through the defense of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, according to the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Oleksandr Syrskyi. According to Syrskyi, Russian forces are attempting to push Ukrainian troops out of the Kursk region and shift combat operations into the Sumy and Kharkiv regions. He stated that the enemy had already suffered significant losses. Since the start of the Kursk operation, total Russian troop losses have exceeded 54,900 personnel. Irrecoverable losses are over 22,200, sanitary losses amount to 31,800, and 942 soldiers have been taken prisoner, he said. Additionally, the Ukrainian Armed Forces have destroyed or disabled more than 2,100 pieces of Russian equipment, including 90 tanks, 654 armored combat vehicles, 2 air defense systems, aircraft, helicopters, and nearly 1,500 drones. Russian aviation continues striking its own territory. As a result of airstrikes on the city of Sudzha, this settlement is almost completely destroyed, Syrskyi reported. He emphasized that preserving the lives of Ukrainian soldiers remains a priority, so units maneuver to more advantageous positions when necessary. We will hold the defense in the Kursk region as long as it is reasonable and necessary, the commander assured. Since early August 2024, the Ukrainian Armed Forces have been conducting an operation in the Kursk region. The goal was to weaken the enemy's combat capabilities and force it to redirect resources toward defending its own territory. By late summer, Ukrainian troops reportedly controlled 100 settlements in the region. However, recent reports suggest that the situation for the UAF in the Kursk region has begun to deteriorate. Russian forces have allegedly advanced northwest of Sudzha. According to media sources, after the U.S. halted intelligence sharing, Ukrainian troops in the Kursk region reportedly faced the risk of encirclement. This, in turn, has made it more difficult to predict attacks and coordinate defense efforts. If Russia agrees to a US-backed 30-day ceasefire agreement in Ukraine, that would open the door to a step-by-step plan to ending the war, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenski said Wednesday. According to Associated Press, top diplomats from Ukraine and the US met in Saudi Arabia on Tuesday to discuss an end to hostilities. As a result of the talks, Washington resumed arms deliveries to Kiev, while Zelensky agreed to a 30-day US-backed ceasefire plan, pending Moscow's approval. After the plan is prepared and its gradual implementation begins, this will lead to the end of the war, Zelensky said. After the war ends, martial law will be lifted, and once martial law is lifted, elections will be held in accordance with Ukrainian legislation. He described the meeting as the first constructive and detailed dialogue between the two countries since the Trump administration took office. Zelensky stressed the importance of the resumption of military aid and intelligence sharing. The American side wanted Ukraine to demonstrate readiness for quick steps toward ending the war. After that, if Ukraine showed this willingness, the US side had given its word that it would resume assistance, he explained at a briefing. And that is exactly what happened. We demonstrated it, and they followed through. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said Wednesday that it's important not to get ahead of the question of responding to the ceasefire proposal. He told reporters that Moscow is awaiting detailed information about it from the US and suggested that Russia must get that first before it can take a position.
Доброго дня, вітаю. А я думав, що ми будемо сидіти. Американська сторона хотіла, щоб українська сторона продемонструвала готовність до швидких кроків до закінчення війни. Після цього, якщо українська сторона продемонструє, американська сторона давала нам слово, що вона відновить допомогу Так, і американська сторона це зробила. Ми продемонстрували, вони це зробили.
Теоретично кроки можуть бути санкційні, застосовані до російської сторони.
Чи готові ми до припинення вогню або до тиші? Ми конкретно це зробили і сказали так. А питання, чи буде готова на це руська сторона? Друге, чи готові наші партнери до моніторингу технічного? Це дуже важливий аспект. Я відверто говорив, що вважаю, що тиша в небі і тиша на морі зрозуміло, як моніторити для нас. Але якщо це тиша всюди, розуміючи, з ким ми маємо справи і розуміючи, маючи досвід минулих років, то тут потрібна технічна допомога. Партнери запевняють в цьому і про це говорили сторони. Це дуже важливо. Після такого кроку може бути використана пропозиція, та, яка була вчора на столі перемовин від американської сторони, 30-денний термін, підготувати повністю план щодо закінчення війни. Покроковий план з гарантіями безпеки для української сторони. Якщо все це буде зроблено, то після підготовки цього плану у будь-якому випадку поетапне виконання, яке призведе до закінчення війни. Після закінчення війни буде знятий військовий стан, і після зняття військового стану вибори будуть проходити згідно українському законодавству. Ніхто нічого спеціально відтерміновувати не буде. Вибачте, до побачення.
The Luhansk Operational Tactical Group of the Ukrainian Armed Forces has prevented a large-scale offensive by the occupying Russian army in the direction of the city of Syrskyi in eastern Donetsk region. The invaders, who attempted to advance with a large number of armored combat vehicles, including Chinese-made Desert Cross 1000-3 off-road vehicles, were stopped by mortars, other artillery installations and drone strikes. The electronic warfare equipment on the Desert Cross 1000-3 vehicles was also helpless against the strikes delivered by the drones. As a result, the vehicles and most of the Russian soldiers inside were destroyed. The infantrymen who tried to advance after dismounting from the vehicles realized that it was impossible to advance and wanted to turn back. However, they were destroyed by successive strikes. As a result, 17 armored personnel carriers, 1 tank, 3 Desert Cross 1000-3 vehicles, 2 quadricycles were destroyed, 16 armored personnel carriers, 2 tanks were damaged. The number of dead and wounded of Russian invaders reached about 160.